Hey friends and welcome. This is Dr. Heather Carden here live from Ask Dr. Heather, here to help you understand more things that are happening possibly in your body, maybe some health trends you're maybe confused about, or maybe other ways that you can actually upgrade your health. You'll see my motto is Ask, Act, Achieve. So if you don't know what the answer is, or maybe you're super confused, simply ask the questions, send your questions in the Ask Dr. Heather. You can do it through Facebook, you can drop it right down below. And then what I do is actually try to sift and sort through credible information from leading thought leaders, researchers, and help you understand what action steps you can step forward. So one of the hot topics I've been getting just a bunch of questions about is candida and stomach acid. So I want to welcome you. Let us know where you're coming from. I always am super interested. So Tony is from New South Wales, Australia. Welcome, Tony. I don't know if you had this, but I have a kiddo. He's upstairs. His room's right up there. A 17-year-old here from Sydney. So enjoying learning a lot of the lingo from Australia. Didn't think it was that much difference because it is still English, but yes, definitely some new lingos there I'm learning. And again, I hate to call it people's names because I never want to miss anybody, but no, these are always meant to be shared. They're meant to be educational to help to help you understand more about what's happening in your body or trends around the world. So first, I want to thank everybody for your amazing, amazing warm welcomes that you always give me, your hearts, your thumbs up, your encouragement. I sincerely appreciate that because I feel like everybody here watching, we're all on a journey together. We're all on a journey towards better health. We all want to slow down slow down the aging clock. Sorry, I'm reading the comments. I should just ignore them. Sorry, I want to slow down that aging clock and be the strongest, best version of ourselves we can be each and every day. And now we know that we can do those through normal health trends. We know that diseases of lifestyle are 97% lifestyle related. That is how we think, negative or positive. It's what we eat. We know we're either feeding a disease or fighting a disease. It's how we sleep. We know sleep is when our body rests, it restores, it repairs. So important. So there's a lot of different things, and physically how much movement we get in, what our nutrient density is. But today the hot topic is Candida albicans stomach acid. There's a lot of confusion. Some of the top pills sold today, and pills would be over the counter and prescription, have to do with stomach issues, whether it's GERD, leaky gut, indigestion, silent reflux. Let's just stop and just go way back to the basics. First of all, the first place of digestion is your mouth. When we chew our food, is called mastication. We chew our food, our teeth grind it up, and then we have saliva glands that spit in some stuff in there. That our esophagus is just a food tube, and it goes right into our stomach. Our stomach's job is to simply just dump in acid. That's all the stomach does. It has parietal cells that use hydrochloric acid and B12 to help dump in and actually break down the particles, so then our liver can actually sift and sort and small intestine can absorb. So our stomach acid should be about 1 to 2 pH. We know that water is about 7.5, 8.0. We know we can also manipulate the water, have a more acidic water, more alkaline water. We also know our saliva should be about 6.5, our stomach should be about 1 to 2, and our urine should be anywhere from 6 to 7. So the pH of our body changes. This whole acid thing is totally misunderstood. And I can share with you that over practicing over 20 years, when I would find Candida albicans or Epstein-Barr in someone, the first thing we would do is we would check hydrochloric acid to see if they're deficient in it. And we have something called a hydrochloric acid test. Each and every one of you can do it. You just need to make sure you have the right product. And how we do that is you simply just start with 100 or 200 milligrams of betaine hydrochloric acid, not mixed with anything else, not mixed with zinc, not mixed with pepsin, not mixed with vitamin C, strictly betaine hydrochloric acid. And you increase with every consecutive protein meal over 2.5 ounces, not with the juice, not with the salad, but a protein meal. And what happens is we find out how much stomach acid you have. If you have enough stomach acid, you'll have one pill, maybe a tuna salad, a couple eggs, about a chicken salad. And if you get a little bit of reflux, we know that you have enough stomach acid. The reason that food comes back up is because number one, you don't have enough stomach acid, or number two, you probably didn't chew it well enough, which people are missing teeth and we're always eating on the go. No one's chewing 30 or 50 times, but the stomach sends it back up. We call it reflux, we call it GERD, either because it can't break it down because it's deficient in things like HCL or hydrochloric acid, or again, we didn't chew it, or it could be a food allergy and the body says, I don't want that thing in here. It could have a lot of toxins. Our stomachs are so so smart. We've put up with eating lots of toxins, lots of pathogens, and the reason that the stomach needs to be a really acidic environment is so that it kills critters in the food that we eat. Our body normally has strep, our body normally has E. coli, our body normally has staph. We have millions of different bugs in our body, and they're all supposed to be in the proper ratio. So we have strep in our mouth to kill things. So if you're eating, I'm touching a pen, touching the paper, and I eat a French fry or a piece of celery, the bacteria is in there to actually help kill whatever pathogen is there. When it gets out of balance is because the body, number one, isn't acidic enough, the immune system's gotten weak, and then we can have a strep infection, or we can have some type of staph infection, or we can have H. pylori, or we can have E. coli. All those things are normally found in our gut. We know there's about 22.5 million Americans that suffer from Epstein-Barr. The reason we're going to talk about Epstein-Barr and Candida, I'm getting those questions a whole bunch from people because they're asking about the symptoms, and they're very, very parallel. So first place of digestion is the mouth, chew your food. Then it goes down the stomach, and the stomach simply just breaks it down. It's like in baby food, so to speak. And if it gets broken down, the simpler the food, the easier it is for the stomach to break down. Having that pH again of 1.0 to 2.0. Now, if you're on a proton pump inhibitor, because the proton pump actually pumps out the HCL, what happens? Then it stops the acid. And when your acid level goes up, or you have a deficiency in acid, the food either comes up with reflux or silent reflux or GERD or leaky gut. You get gas, you get bloating, you get nausea, you can get diarrhea because it didn't get broken down fast enough in the stomach, or didn't get broken down to where it needs to be. Then the stomach just scoots it on out the body, or it pushes it back up. So when we start talking about things like bloating, why is my stomach bloating? Yes, it could be a food allergy. Yes, it could be a deficiency in a probiotic. But the second step of digestion is your stomach acid. Simply do a betaine hydrochloric acid challenge test, and you'll find super quick if that's a problem. But again, you can get bloating, upset stomach, nausea. So if you're taking a really good whole food vitamin, or you're taking something that's a healthy meat or healthy fat, and you don't feel good, you get nausea, you get reflux, it's not because the food's bad or the supplement's bad, it's because you don't have enough stomach acid that's supposed to be 1.0 to 2.0 to actually break it down. Heartburn is not an excess of acid, it's actually a deficiency of acid, because again, it's not acidic enough, so the stomach says, try it again. And we're not, remember, not cows or rabbits with ruminant stomachs, but it goes up and then goes back down, goes up and then goes back down. So that's where we can get super confused with it. And think about what's happening. We have more nerves in our gut than our spinal cord. So if your stomach, step 2 of digestion, is confused, it's not getting the help it needs, we're stopping the acid, which is its major job, it could create a lot of mood behavior. Number one, we can't make the neurotransmitters we need out of the food. Number two, it puts your nervous system in a huge big chaos trying to figure out in or out, in or out, in or out. So either it comes up or it goes out super quick. You can even feel a lump in your throat sometimes because, again, you've chewed it. So number one step is done, but it pushes it back down to try to get it to go again. It can even cause sleep issues. So if you're eating too late at night, you have a stomach acid deficiency, and you lay down, it can't go through the rest of the process, proceed on to the liver, to the small intestine, and large intestine for evacuation in the morning. You'll get those symptoms at night. I know doctors say, prop your head up. That's not fixing the problem. That's not saying, well, why is my food coming back? And there are people that eat all the time and fall asleep. It shouldn't be coming back up. People eat all the time and don't have gas or bloating. However, we do know it is the number one pill sold today out there, right? Yes, Tony, I will definitely put the info on the hydrochloric acid. So if we don't have enough acid, it sets our body up to get lots of critters, so to speak. One of the major ones that we find are different imbalances can either be chronic strep infections. We find that oftentimes in kiddos, enlarged tonsils, because the tonsils are trying to grab on all of that. But more importantly, we find Candida albicans. So I've been teaching, when I find it, either clinically, you can, even simple thing, you can do a spit test in the morning. I'll put that YouTube video down here. You simply just take a glass of water, and then you spit it in the morning. If you get stringers, then you know there's Candida. If you get bubbles, then you know that you don't have any Candida in your saliva. That is a free test to do. You set it right by your bedstand tonight, let it get to room temperature, and then you just spit in there. And you can see if it takes 0, 2, or 3 minutes for strings to start, that says there's Candida albicans. You can also look at your tongue. If your tongue should be nice and pink, it shouldn't have green stuff on the back. If you're finding yourself scraping your tongue, you're finding white edges around your tongue, probably have a yeast infection. If you're always clearing your throat, or itching your ears, or having a nose that just kind of won't go away, that's all signs that you could have Candida albicans. The cracks on the side of your mouth can also be Candida albicans. If you've had a lot of metal in your mouth, amalgams, fillings, braces for 2 or 3 years, fillings, not feelings, but fillings in your mouth, we know those can leach and cause systemic Candida issues. So there's a lot of causes from it, but we see when you start looking at the different symptoms of Candida albicans, it will create chronic fatigue. Your stomach just can't break it down, and Candida albicans causes an overgrowth. Lots of brain fog. We know the connection between our brain and our gut is super, super high. Digestive tract irritations. If you're not breaking that food down, Linda, yes. So husband has Barrett's esophagitis stage 4. So put him on Nexium. So I can't overrule what someone else has prescribed for a doctor, but this actually, when I see this in my practice where someone comes in with eosinophilic esophagitis, people come in with low calcium, low iron, anemic, osteoporosis, and they're eating a pretty healthy diet, the stomach, and they're taking a stomach or proton pump inhibitor, or they're taking Tums all the time, the second place of digestion is acid. Remember, our body's its own pharmacy. Don't forget that. It can make what it needs to make. So there's, again, I'm not going to overdiagnose anybody else's, but just really want you to go, could that be an issue? So we also talk about sinus infection. So you take an antibiotic, it gets better, but what happens is the antibiotic kills off the bacteria. Now that dead bacteria is just like a miracle grow for Candida, and it just grows like crazy. Say you have a really, really nice steak dinner, you have a tomato, you have a salad, and then you have this wicked sugar craving. That can be Candida as well. So any type of sinus drainage that's generally clear or whitish, itchy ears, itchy scalp, eczema, psoriasis, any type of urogenital itching, so whether you're male or female, toenail fungus, so we can go from head to toe, starting with brain fog, gooby eyes in the morning, a nose that's not really an infection, not really a fever, itchy ears, excess earwax, cracks on your mouth, white tongue, lump in your throat, again, anywhere on your skin, red patches, even rosacea is linked to Candida albicans, gut, bloating, irritation, stuff in your belly button that doesn't smell good, urogenital stuff like jock itch or chronic bacteria vaginosis. Again, we give an antibiotic for it, and we give a one-shot wonder pill called like diflucan. Our stomach's not turning the problem, it's what happens systemically, so we have to treat that systemically, which is removing everything that feeds yeast, which is all things sugary, all things fermented. Really get a good idea of what the microflora is in the gut, because I've had people self-treat themselves with apple cider vinegar and then just picking a probiotic, and that probiotic's actually feeding the yeast. So we do a stool analysis if people have a systemic overgrowth, if you are on a lot of steroids because of allergies, or maybe you had some accident that made you have a lot of steroids for anywhere from 30 days to maybe 5 or 6 years. Use a steroid nose inhaler, take steroid for an autoimmune disease, maybe lots of antibiotics for acne, chronic tonsillitis, sinus stuff when you're going. All that will throw your body out of balance. The stomach has to be at 1.0 to 1.2. And when it gets higher than that, critters can grow because it doesn't pass that second phase of digestion. Those are all symptoms of Candida albicans. We also know the clinical correlation. We start talking about co-inhabitants or co-infections. And I had a great question last week. Is it Epstein-Barr or is it Candida? Is it low acid or what is it? Well, for me, you have to just do the test, do the blood test. You can do stool tests. You can do saliva testing. But again, start writing down some of those symptoms that we shared about what could possibly be leading to that. And what we have used in our office over the last 20 years, we do find Candida albicans, or we do find Candida albicans can lead to almost hormone dysfunction. Again, wicked craving. It can throw your immune system out of balance. It can throw your adrenal glands in overdrive because it's always trying to catch up. So anything that has to do with anything, once you have an overgrowth in your body, can cause things to just go haywire and not function like they should. So we also know that the types of things that we drink can also cause our body to be out of balance. The type of water that we bathe in, or things that we put on our skin. So lots of lotion, different detergents. We sleep at least hopefully 8 hours a day in your bed, or think of the kiddos that also nap and maybe sleep a bit longer. If you've got toxic detergents that you're sleeping on, can also lead to throwing your body out of balance, that pH out of balance. But I want to say honed in on hydrochloric acid because it does lead to chronic Epstein-Barr, which can lead to hormone imbalance, chronic fatigue, thyroid issue, can cause Candida albicans. And again, the treatment's going to be different depending on what we find and where it is. But again, we have to have that hydrochloric acid. So I will put the information down on a betaine hydrochloric acid challenge test. But what we've used in the last 20 years is we've used a autoimmune autoimmune friendly ketogenic diet. Everybody says, what does autoimmune friendly mean? Well, if it's something for Candida albicans or for Epstein-Barr, what we do is we do take away all foods that are moldy. So kombucha, fermented soy, fermented sprouts, fermented like cheeses, even if it's goat or sheep cheeses, all those things are fermented. Mushrooms are moldy. A lot of vinegars are moldy. So people try to treat it with apple cider vinegar and do a lot of these vinegar washes where the vinegar is fermented. It just feeds the rest of it. Sauerkraut just feeds the rest of it. Again, those things in the right body can be very beneficial, but in a body that has Candida albicans, which can be the sign of chronic thrush, it can be eczema, it can be rosacea, it can be actinic keratitis, it can be so many different things, bacteria vaginosis, chronic sinus infections, chronic upper respiratory infections that don't have fever related with it. If you do have fever, that can actually be a little better thing because then your body's actually trying to cook it out, so to speak. But if you know, again, we talked about head to toe, just review those symptoms, then you might be a person that actually needs to have more hydrochloric acid, which would help you break down the food. So if you say, I'm sleeping pretty good, I'm eating pretty good, but yes, back in the day when I was a kiddo, I had lots of antibiotics, or I was in a really bad accident and had to have some antibiotics, or my doctor used steroids to help treat my allergies, asthma, things like that. Or I know I ate a lot of processed food. I grew up in a smoking household. Maybe you've always had a dairy issue, but you eat it anyway. Or maybe you have a shellfish allergy and you eat it anyway. That can cause the whole gut to be out of balance, which causes that immune system to be weakened. So as we talked about the symptoms from head to bottom, number one, make sure you're chewing your food. Number two, that stomach acid is so important. And I do encourage you to look up symptoms of betaine hydrochloric acid deficiency. You're going to see, again, everything from head to toe, from sinuses to all the gut and bloating, all the leaky gut, all that kind of stuff. And oftentimes people really get stuck, and I see this in my practice, stuck on the initials, stuck on the names. Is it GERD? Is it leaky gut? Is it silent reflux? Is it... What we need to say is, where is the imbalance of the body? Why is it not functioning properly? Why is it dumping over the skin in the form of eczema or rosacea? Why is it dumping into my sinus cavities or my ears? Why is it dumping into my bowels? That's really the question. Why are my toenails getting funky? Why do they smell? That kind of stuff. We need to say, why is that imbalance? Because our body, we actually come into this world in a state of ketosis in perfect balance. Babies only need breast milk. They don't need water. They don't need supplementation. They simply need breast milk. And then as they get older and they start to get teeth, then we know the body starts to change, the pH starts to change and become more adapted. But if we stop and think how many people are on some type of proton pump inhibitor, taking Tums, having chronic skin issues, having chronic gut issues, having chronic sinus issues, it could be as simple. And I'm telling you, I've seen it time and time again in my practice, not enough hydrochloric acid. We know what happens. I know there's a big trend talking about MTFHR and methylation of B12. B12 is secreted around the parietal cells in the stomach to actually help break down carbohydrates. So our treatment has always been cut out all the processed sugar, all the processed foods, give your body a break so those proton pumps that are actually in the stomach wall, parietal cells, can actually start pumping acid again. Think of it like a type 2 diabetes. If you overuse sugar and you have, you're eating 17 times a day and you're having juice and oatmeal, bananas and smoothies and breads and pasta, you're just dumping insulin, that what leads to type 2 diabetes. You simply run out of it. The same thing happens in the gut. If you had lots of antibiotics, lots of steroid, lots of processed foods, those type of things will all lead to a hydrochloric acid deficiency, or you're popping Tums all the time, or you're taking something that actually cuts off the stomach acid. And I do encourage you to look how vital the stomach acid is to be at 1.0 to 2.0, being that second stop for digestion. Just think about that. If it doesn't get past the stomach correctly, then your body can't pull out the iron from the spinach. It can't pull out the vitamin C from the red bell peppers. It can't pull out the essential nutrients from all the meats and the essential amino acids from all the food that you're eating, like the omega oils from trout and salmon, sardines, things like that. All of it happens if the stomach doesn't get it broken down. And just think of this as a newborn baby. All the stomach does is make it like baby food. And just think if you had a baby who's maybe 8 or 9 months old, 14 months old, just starting food, and if it wasn't pulverized enough, broken down enough, what's the baby do? It spits it back up, right? Or it gets a rash on its bottom. The same thing in your stomach. You're just as an adult now, and now we know how to ignore it, right? I see people all the time, I get acid reflux, and I just chuck milk afterwards. You actually could use things like aloe vera juice or almond milk or hemp milk that are much more coating to the stomach. So again, lots of different ways we could go down there. But what we do is first identify where's the imbalance in the body and what is the body telling us versus the signs. Again, from toenails to sinuses to skin to gut to even just chronic fatigue. Maybe you say, not, I did have Epstein-Barr, I did have mono in college, or maybe during childbirth, it happens all the time. Women can get a bacteria vaginosis, and you can transfer that from male to female. Candida is very, very highly transferable from spouse to spouse, I want to say, to keep that pretty clean here. But yes, it can be that the male can actually have it or the female can have it. And through natural relationships, you can actually transfer that. But just start looking at your own body. Get off this and go take a picture of your tongue, or maybe you see how much sugar you're eating. And again, we're going to run on that list. So chronic fatigue is the first sign of it, like you're just wet noodle tired and you've ruled out anemia, you've ruled out your thyroid. And then again, just brain fog, like you just can't seem to remember things you used to remember. Digestive issues, gas, bloating, diarrhea, and nausea, just with even nutritious food, diarrhea and nausea, or things coming up or not going back down, or things not looking right like they should in the toilet at the end of the day. And then you're having all these back-to-back food intolerances. I talked with someone last week and she's like, why do I have all these food intolerances? I knew it was peanuts when I was a little kid, but now I have this and this and this and this. It's because once the body starts attacking itself in an autoimmune disease, again, the letters matter a little bit, which means what they represent, but the overall theme is, why is the body attacking itself? Why is it not able to digest the food and pull out the nutrients? Why am I chronically anemic? Why am I always having calcium deficiency? Why is my body not absorbing in the small intestine when it needs to absorb? And then when you look at the large intestine, its job's just to get ready for evacuation. Why am I having constipation? Why am I having diarrhea? Why am I having a very slow transition? Why am I never feeling like I'm fully evacuated? Digestion begins up here. So when people start talking about, oh, I do a seal, my husband and I talked about this, about colonics. I'm not anti-colonic, but I also know that digestion begins in the mouth. So think about that. The same thing if you've got something stuck in your toilet. You don't, go out to the street and unplug the sewer line. You actually start from the top and go down to see what's stuck in there, what's happening. So you can start to be your own detective. And again, Dr. Google, I call it, can give you a lot of information, but please drop your questions down here. So I really do want to help you. I have a lot of people saying, now I was really sick over the holidays. I had gut flu. I had this, I had that. My family all got it. We all had GI issues. We all like saltine crackers and chicken noodle soup. So they introduced all the carbs again. Well, carbs feed the sugar. Sugar feeds the yeast. And then again, you don't have the proper probiotics because the whole gut pH is off, which creates the perfect storm for everything to start to really get out of balance. So it will start with one thing. And I hear this all the time. I never want to go to the doctor because for the doctor, they're going to find something. Well, hopefully that can be a good thing. Hopefully we find something that's out of balance. It's like going to the dentist, right? Hopefully the dentist finds a little bit of cavity before it comes full blown into having to have your tooth extracted. The same thing with the gut, and look at that. But a lot of times what we see in modern healthcare is that we're just getting a patch or band-aid for what the symptoms are. So if you're having reflux, if you're having gas and bloating, taking something over the counter or something that just stops the stomach from doing what it's supposed to do doesn't solve the problem. I compare this exactly to birth control. I have women whose hormones are way out of balance, and what do? Let's just stop ovulating. Let's tell the brain not to ovulate. That doesn't fix the hormone imbalance. It fixes the symptoms, but doesn't fix the underlying cause. So I really encourage you, as we move into 2019, we're talking about self-care, that you start to be your own detective and say, you know what, that makes sense. I know it's super easy to take a pill for this or a pill for that. When we talk about headaches and migraines, which are also a very common size of Candida albicans, excess carbohydrates, again, we've used a ketogenic diet, an autoimmune one, which is dairy-free, low fermented to no fermented foods, no artificial colorings, eat as local as you can, and lots of healthy plant fat. So it's kind of the same recipe when we start talking about imbalances for hormones or Epstein-Barr, or we talk about Candida. And again, we want to eat in that smaller window. So that is my story tonight. I do want to thank the hundreds of you who said, can you please talk about Candida albicans? Can you please, I don't want to deep dive into it. I want to give you enough to say, you know what, this could possibly be me. Get with a local healthcare provider that's a functional wellness doctor that knows how to treat Candida albicans, that knows how to look at the underlying issue. I got a phone call. Somebody said, or I guess it was a message, can you really have Epstein-Barr and Candida albicans and have H. pylori? The answer is yes, because once one microflora or one gut bug, so to speak, gets out of balance, it creates this whole cascade of events. Because again, the pH is different in our mouth than is in our urine, and is different than what is in different than what's in our stomach. So we start looking again at stage 2, and I'll put down the video or the YouTube video for Candida. I'll also put down the hydrochloric acid betaine challenge test. The other thing could be if you have all those symptoms and the HCL shows up negative, like, nope, I didn't have it. I had a piece of chicken, I had 3 bites of hamburgers, 2 or 3 ounces of meat, and I got instant reflux, then we know it's not a hydrochloric acid deficiency, but you still have all these symptoms. The second thing I would say is do a vitamin C lavage. I love a vitamin C lavage. We know how important important vitamin C is. Back in the days, we thought it was about rickets. Now we know it's about so much more. Cellular health, keeping your body in an acidic environment so critters can't grow. Critters for me happen to be staph, strep, E. coli, different type of Epstein-Barr, any type of those viruses getting out of balance. So when you create that environment that they can't grow in, but yet your body still is in the environment where it can absorb all the nutrients that it needs, then we start looking at things like a vitamin C lavage. And vitamin C, honestly, there's more vitamin C in a red bell pepper than an orange. So definitely don't start thinking orange juice, but a vitamin C lavage, because again, very acidic. You take 1,000 milligrams of powdered vitamin C, 1,000 milligrams every hour until you get bowel tolerance. That means to mushy bowel, until you get loose stools, and you'll know exactly where that is, and then you cut it back a little bit. But I'll put that information down. I'll also actually post it tomorrow, Ask Dr. Heather, which is my blog. So hopefully it brought some insight into why are you chronically having Epstein-Barr? Why are you having mouth outbreaks? Why is the sinus stuff never going away after lots of antibiotics and steroid? Why is the gut stuff never going away? Or maybe you took the stuff for the stomach, but now you have all these macronutrient deficiencies. We talked about acid pulling calcium out of walnuts and out of macadamia nuts, and pulling essential fatty acids out of nuts and seeds. If you don't have an acid environment in the stomach, then you won't have the chance to even absorb that type of stuff, and it simply just gets eliminated out through the toilet. So hopefully I brought some value. I really want to have more questions so I can help you deep dive into this. I want to thank everybody for the big shout outs, and yes, I'll talk about what's happening in my body, but I wanted to actually bring what's happening in my own life just as inspiration and for education. So I am doing a 60-hour reboot right now. You saw I got some IV nutrition yesterday just to help super boost my cells at that cellular level. Now what I do is I'm not going to eat for 60 plus hours. People say, why? Because now I had all those great nutrients. Instead of interfering with the whole digestion process, having maybe a potential allergen I don't know about, now my body can really absorb and make all those healthy new cells. Instead of having to work for 12 or 14 hours digesting food, now it has the amazing effect where I can drink water. And yes, I am using pure therapeutic ketones for my energy to transition, also to help protect my lean muscle mass. Sometimes when you fast, if myostatin is turned on, which happens in a lot of people just because our bodies are out of balance, you'll lose that lean muscle mass. So I only use Prove It's ketones. I'm going to say that because it's the only one that's bioidentical to what our body makes. I have done this before. After my fourth baby, I had all my kids naturally. I still got a systemic Candida albicans infection, or chronic yeast infection, and for a year I was on a ketogenic diet, very low carb, and now I know what happens is now I can check my ketone level, I can check my blood glucose, so I can keep my body in ketosis, and I'm still starving out all those critters I don't want in there, because the body wants to be at its natural balancing place. So we think about animals, when they get sick, they simply just don't eat. We want them to drink, but they don't eat, so their body can really focus on healing the cells at the cellular level. So 60-hour reboot right now. If you're actually doing the reboot, give me like a fist bump down below. I know several of you are. This is honestly meant to be shared, so go ahead and tag a friend in this, share a friend, somebody else you might know be going through a health crisis, and don't wait to have a health crisis to get your body healthy. You never know what's right around the corner. And then what I do is I do a 60 plus hour reboot or fast, again with exogenous ketones. I had IV cocktail, I had a hella hydration with some extra magnesium, some extra taurine, a little bit of vegan B complex vitamins just to make healthy blood cells, because my last blood show showed us a little bit anemic, and my platelets were a little bit off. I want to strengthen that at the cellular level. It takes 180 days to make one new red blood cell, so I know that I'm 7 weeks out to surgery, so that puts the prime of my blood work right where it needs to be. And why would I want to eat junk today to mess up what I put in my body yesterday? And now I'm letting my body heal and absorb, and then when I start to roll out of the reboot or the fast, I'm going to feed it with high density macronutrients in very small portion. What that means to me is not, I don't love all greens, I'll be honest, but it is things like kale and collard greens, dandelion greens, buggle root. You can do Mediterranean mixes. Yes, it's okay to juice those and add some lemon and ginger to it. I'm going to do some celery juice because I'm going to replace that natural sodium that's lost. So I'll be doing that this weekend. I'm also doing a 10-day, and I'll post every day, 10-day getting rid of the stuff in your house. So getting rid of the plastic and only drinking out of glass can also upgrade your health. So I will be kicking off a 10-day keto kickstart on Thursday the 15th. So I get you through Valentine's Day. And I know what I'm doing for Valentine's Day. I'm going to have a beautiful piece of fish. I'm going to have a bunch of organic vegetables with some grass-fed butter dribbled with extra virgin olive oil all over it. So I already know kind of what I want to have. And also going to go back to having some chia pudding or some hemp seed pudding to get all those healthy fats back in my body. So rest, repair, refeed, refuel. That's the whole system that we need to do. So thanks again for joining me. I will put the links down below about the YouTube. If you potentially have Candida albicans, look at your tongue or ask your people. Do I always have kind of a weird funky breath? Am I always kind of gas or bloating? Maybe you're the person that eats lunch and 2 or 3 hours later you're loosening your belt, and maybe you're a thin person anyway. The gut is bloating because the yeast is fermenting. Our bodies are 98-degree ovens, so if we're not evacuating every single day, the food that's caught in there is just fermenting and growing and causing a lot of dysbiosis, a lot of imbalances, because the gut bugs will feed off one to feed the other. Just like when you take an antibiotic, it kills off the bacteria, and then the yeast is like, woo, party on. Again, it's like Miracle Grow for the yeast, and they actually come out. Then what happens? You're right back to the same symptoms you were 10 to 14 days later, because that's how long it takes those spores to grow. Think of it like this as we close out. If you had a piece of cheese in your refrigerator, and refrigerator should be about 37 degrees Fahrenheit. What happens if it accidentally gets to 40 or 41? Everything starts to go rotten sooner. The same thing happens if your pH is not low in your stomach. It's got to be 1, no higher than 2. If it starts to creep up, things start to rot a lot better. Again, if the stomach can't emulsify it, break it down, pre-chew it for you, and kill off those toxins and critters, when they pass along into the liver, the gallbladder, the small intestine can't absorb that toxic stuff. It becomes very toxic to the body. Toxic can be in the form of brain fog, not feeling good, gas and bloating, skin irritation, skin dots, all that kind of stuff, because our skin's our largest organ. We never know how it's going to be displayed, which means some people may have chronic headaches from it. Some people may have chronic gut issues. Some people have chronic skin issues. But what happens is we have to replenish that so our body is strong. And that's the great news. So I saw Michael on here. I saw Bill on here. So if and I know these people well, so I could actually give Bill a kidney, and it could potentially work if we matched, right? Or I could give someone a stem cell transplant for my lipo cells. That could potentially work. Or if Michael breaks his leg, it should actually heal. The rate in which our body heals depending on what environment we set it. So if we know we have a hydrochloric acid deficiency, we need to say, okay, I need to give my body very, 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 very simple foods for it to break down. Simple food is one ingredient, like a celery or like a chicken or like a steak or like an egg. It's not a mixture and chaos of things. That's why people like this carnivore diet for very short term, because the body's only breaking down one macronutrient. So the simpler, the better. That way the body doesn't have to create confusion. The way we do create metabolic confusion is by eating different foods every day. So broccoli one day, asparagus one day, greens one day, then celery one day, chicken, whitefish, redfish, beef. Chicken, whitefish, or poultry, whatever it is you want to do, fowl or quail or something. You've got to rotate through that. But don't make this whole hodgepodge of throwing all this dairy and stuff on top of it, or all these special sauces. You can definitely use herbs to help accentuate digestion for you. Salt is a great thing to put on that. But just moving forward, I want to help you detect if hydrochloric acid is a deficiency for you. And if you have been told you're osteoporotic osteopenia, I bet it's a stomach issue. And you know that you've got gut issues, then the food that you're eating is not letting your body break that down. So I want to know who is joining me on this reboot. I see lots of fist bumps. Heather, thank you very much. Yesenia, thank you very much. I see fist bumps, fist bumps. Awesome. So we will actually be doing our reboot while my body's resting and repairing and replenishing, as well as yours. I love doing things together. I've always been super involved in team sports. I don't like these single sports. I like team sports, like winning at health. This is a team sport to me. Ask Dr. Heather's it's a team sport. We're all winning together. So I am going to give you 10 tips that everyone can do. We're going to start with number 1, ditching the plastic. It doesn't cost anything to throw it away. Everyone has recycling, and simply just pick up glass. Glass is very economical. It's very cheap. You can find glass jars at the dollar store. You can even go to your local thrift store and you can find glass jars, glass plates, glass storage things. Get rid of all of that. And then we're going to talk about soap. I made some dry shampoo. We're going to talk about natural detergents. I'm going to make a bunch of natural detergent, because again, we are sleeping and our bodies are covered up with the fabric, our clothes, 20 some hours a day. That's the truth of it. And a lot of our fabric stuff that makes it smell so nice and good and not have static is actually very toxic for our body. Even things like candles that make our house smell good, they're actually finding those, like say you have a red candle at Christmas, it was maybe a, cinnamon apple or cranberry. They're finding those byproducts actually in the cells of people who've passed away. So we know that the body's absorbing them. They're either through their skin or through your respiration, but we know those shouldn't be there. So I am going to challenge you guys to a 10-day kind of environmental toxic cleanup. Maybe we'll do one a week, because maybe one a day is too much. You guys let me know. If you want to do 10 days straight, let me know. If you feel like, no, I'm ready to go. But if not, then maybe we'll just do one a week, and that's okay, because anything 1% again, I think Tony said that 1% change is bettering your health. This is not about perfect, because I tell you, I think my health is pretty good, but I can tell you I've gotten lazy in things like using plastic to-go cups, using plastic lids on my paper cups also I've been guilty of. I've been guilty of actually getting this dry shampoo that I love. It's natural detox, but I know it's got stuff in there I can't even pronounce, and I have a minor in biochemistry, so I'm going straight to arrowroot powder for my dry shampoo. So going to actually lead you along with me, and no matter what happens, again, I am preparing for a surgery coming up, but I'm going to call it like a health procedure, but maybe you're preparing for a baby. Maybe you and your spouse are thinking about you're going to have a baby, or maybe your doctor said you've got to have some dental work done in 2 or 3 months or something, or maybe it's next week. We know that everything that we do at the moment in time, like today, we're making healthy blood, or we're either feeding a disease or we're fighting a disease by the ways that we live, by the ways that we think, by the ways that we eat. So just think about that. You never know what's going to happen. Sorry, Gracie, I'm calling out. Cindy's in a car wreck in 2 days. It's going to be very beneficial that she's doing the reboot, because her body's resting, it's repairing, it's increasing her human growth hormone, which is anti-aging her body, which means she's going to be more resilient to pop back if she does get in a car wreck in 2 days. And I don't want you living in fear or worry, but just set your body in that metabolic state. No matter what is called upon my body, I can do what it needs to be done. So that's why I'm sharing my health stuff with you guys. If you don't know, I had an accident back in 2014, a snow skiing accident, my mother's son skiing accident, that led to a few fractures in my back, some brain stuff, and some spinal cord stuff. So not to go any big letters or details, but always trying to do better, always trying to upgrade my health, and just living life that the most abundantly way that I can. So thank you guys for joining me. I will get those things posted down below. If you want to kick off the 10-day with us, let us know and just send me a private message through here. I've got about 15 people lined up. We do keep it to about 100, and we have filled up the 100 spots the last 4 times. So I'm so excited everybody's doing the reboot with me. And again, I think I'm at 23 hours. I started a little bit earlier yesterday because that's the way church and dinner just lined up, my last meal. So what I did is I took my last meal, I added 2 hours to it because it takes that long to digest the food at the minimum. So I added 2 hours onto that and then started my clock. And I do use the app Zero. People ask me all the time because that's the easier way to count. Or you can just when I do a 24-hour fast once a week, I just do lunch to lunch or dinner to dinner. I don't necessarily get the clock. I kind of listen to my body. Am I hungry? Do I need to eat? And the minute you say don't eat, you get hungry, right? So I know Mike has done this with us as well, but this is a super exciting time. I'm really blessed to have you all along with me on this journey. I'm here to talk more about what you want to talk about. Today was Candida, it was hydrochloric acid, it was Epstein-Barr. How do we do that natural? I'm going to give you some few tips here. So once we find out what it is, we do restore the proper probiotic and prebiotic in the gut. We do use things for Epstein-Barr Candida like caprylic acid, like monolaurin, like garlic bulb. If you don't have a garlic allergy, we use silver. St. John's wort is amazing for Epstein-Barr. Actually, I know it's an antidepressant, but the herb actually blows up the virus. We use homeopathics. We use different herbal contexts and blends to actually help with that. If you go to the traditional medical doctor and you get diagnosed with Epstein-Barr, they're going to say, we don't really have anything. Well, for us, we definitely have some things. We want to actually kill and erupt that virus. We want to actually see if there's a latent bacterial virus underneath that and then boost up the immune system. We do that by changing the diet, increasing the sleep, and get rid of the toxins that you're exposed to each and every day. The same thing is true for Candida albicans. Stop the sugar, stop the processed food, eat in a smaller window, starve it out. That starving it out can be sometimes wicked because you just start craving stuff like nobody's business. So if you've been a person who maybe has one thing of sugar and then you just keep going and going like, oh, I'm just going to have one donut or one chip or one Skittle, and then the whole thing of Skittles gone. It's Candida albicans. It's telling you, I want the sugar, I want the sugar. So I do encourage you to look up things like Candida albicans. Also, I have a bunch of great recipes over on Ask Dr. Heather. So to start your day in the right way, hop over. You can freely subscribe to AskDrHeather.net. I'm trying to get the .org, but kick those together. But AskDrHeather.net. Hit subscribe. You'll see my autoimmune-friendly ketogenic food list there. You'll also see 4 amazing breakfasts that you can have, whether you're paleo, whether you're zone, whether you're low carb, whether you're vegan. You're going to find some amazing recipe there for you. And also on my YouTube channel, go to the playlist. I've got a lot of stuff on, about 44 videos, I think, on intermittent fasting and fasting, 40-some videos on keto science, and then about, 30 videos on cooking. So hopefully that brings you some help in your day. And again, I'd love hearing from you. Let me know what you'd like to know more about next. This is Dr. Heather saying have an amazing day, and I'll be seeing you soon.